Am I the a-hole for not allowing my boyfriend to bring his friends to my apartment? Posted by Kodiak 2001X. If you like these stories and want to see more, please like and subscribe. Please be honest if I am the a-hole. Me, 19F, and my boyfriend, 21M, do not live together. I have my apartment. I pay the full rent, my name is on the lease, and I take care of the place alone. My boyfriend spends a lot of time at my apartment. I would say he spends most nights there, but he does not live with me. I like having a place that I can control myself. Tonight I am spending the night with my family because my uncle is in hospital in serious condition. My boyfriend offered to spend the night with me even though he had plans with his friends, but I declined and told him to have fun still and not feel guilty. I have not been allowed to meet his friends for over a year. When I asked my boyfriend why, he told me it was because they did not like me at all and did not want to see me. I found out the reason they do not like me is that a year ago we went on a cruise together. Later one of the guy's girlfriends texted me and asked if I was on the cruise as well. Apparently, her boyfriend had told her there would be no girls on the cruise. That was a lie, we were several girls. I told her the truth, and maybe it was not my business to do so, but it created some conflicts. Now I am at my parents' house, and my boyfriend asked me if he and his friends could spend the night at my apartment. I told him no, I am not comfortable having people at my apartment that don't like me and don't want to see me. He is really annoyed with me now because of this, saying they only wanted to watch some soccer game or whatever. I still tell him I do not want them there. Am I the a-hole? I am not even at the apartment, so it really doesn't make a difference if they would spend the night or not. I just don't feel comfortable. Please tell me what you guys think. And now for the top comments. Girl. You've got enough people on here telling you not the a-hole on this one issue, so let's put that aside and take stock of the bigger picture. From what I'm reading here, you're a financially independent 19-year-old, you're self-possessed, you have integrity, you're generous, you care for your family. You seem like you have your crap remarkably together for your age. Your boyfriend, meanwhile, likes to surround himself with deeply immature friends, who treat their own romantic partners with dishonesty and contempt, treat you with contempt for not abetting that bullcrap behavior, and then make this kind of imposition on your space while you are going through a period of grief and stress. And your boyfriend has made it perfectly clear, not just through this one instance but through generally not allowing you to meet them, that he prioritizes them over you, that his values are more aligned with theirs than with yours. You may be young, but life is still too short for this crap, and with all the scientific advancements in vibrator technology, there's really no good reason to put up with it. Move on. Huge, not the a-hole. They don't like you and don't want to see you, so they don't get to use your apartment whilst you're away for their own convenience. Screw them. Your BF even asking is bad enough, but if he gets moody over you saying no, then you need to have a serious talk with him about boundaries and how your apartment is not his to use for entertaining his mates. Not the a-hole. Your apartment. Your rules. It's not fair for your boyfriend to expect you to let people into your personal space when he knows they don't like you and that there will be some tension. I assume he has his own place or that his friends have their own place. They can stay there and not cause you to hassle in such a stressful time. I wish your uncle a swift recovery, Op. And now for our next story. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my husband's complaints? Posted by nameless_barber. My husband and I are in our 30s. We've been together for over 10 years. In those 10 years, my husband has historically struggled to hold a job. Due to a multitude of reasons. Mainly his temper. I have been employed for the entirety of our relationship. And like him I have poor impulse control. This is why he handles all the financial stuff. My checks are direct deposited into our account. But I don't have access to it since he says I spend too much. I don't have an issue with this. He always gives me money as I need it. I recently got my husband a job throwing paper at a print shop. I took the search into my own hands because he had been unemployed for 4 years and just laid around. It's a very physical job. And my husband was constantly whining about the pain he was in. I was sympathetic at first. But then he left the job mid-shift. I know the guy who runs the place, how I was able to get him the job. So I was able to get my friend to keep him on. But since then, I haven't been sympathetic. So he finally blew up at me and started claiming I didn't care about him. And he kicked me out. So I am currently at my sister's. And have no access to my account since he handles all that. I told him this, and he said that maybe I'd act right next time. But I feel kind of bad for telling him how I really felt. His history of unemployment was his fault no matter how many times he says otherwise. Among other things. Was I wrong not to be more sympathetic? And now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and what he's doing is financial abuse. He has no right to kick you out of your home or to keep you from accessing the household accounts. If you have a direct deposit, change the deposit to an account that is solely yours. He had the nerve to throw you out of the house. You've been paying the bills for the last 4 years? What is audacity? I think you've enabled your husband for far too long, and he's lashing out when he realizes that the comfort he had is threatened. So just want to put a huge disclaimer here that I, and anyone else who comments on this, has a very narrow understanding of your relationship with your husband, so we can't make any claims with a lot of accuracies. That being said, from the limited amount of information you've provided here, signs do point to him being abusive, taking advantage of you. Being that it's a physical job, there is always a chance that he genuinely has an issue handling it, perhaps a medical issue, or just being out of shape. But the fact that he was unemployed for so long and seemed to have made little to no effort to change that is a big huge massive red flag. He should be working to earn your trust and respect back, and you should be pursuing what legal options you have to get your hands on your money. And now for our next story. Am I the a-hole for selling my husband's Xbox to buy back the antique tea set that he sold without consent? Posted by _heavenly. Piece 399. Me F33 and my husband M31 have been struggling with money lately. I work at a hair salon while he works at a gas station, basically have minimum wages that barely pay rent and other expenses. We do not have any savings, nor do we have the ability to save money. It's been like this for years. Recently I found out that the antique tea set that my grandmother gifted me was gone. My husband admitted selling it for $300 plus to be able to buy a gaming chair for his nephew, who's recovering cancer patient. I didn't take it well. I told him this tea set was important to me, and I wasn't willing to let it go that easily. Now, if he was selling it to pay off debts or rent, then maybe, but a gaming chair? No, not okay. He asked me to allow him to explain and said that A, I don't use this tea set like ever, so it's just sitting in the cabinet. B, his nephew has gone through so much and wanted a gaming chair badly, and he promised to award him for defeating cancer. And C, he said he would be giving me money to buy a better, modern tea set. But I refused to accept that it was gone and let go of it. I contacted the buyer, and he told me I had to pay $450 to get it back, which was unfair. But since he was barely convinced to let me have it back, then I needed to come up with the money. I sold the only thing my husband had that was worth money, which was his Xbox. I got $400 and borrowed the $50 from my sister. I paid off the buyer, and he brought back the tea set. My husband found out and went off asking how I could do this to him. I asked him to hear me out, then explained that I sold the Xbox since he was the one who gave away my antique tea set, so he was responsible for getting it back. He said he promised to save money for me to get a better set, but I insisted I wanted my grandmother's tea set and nothing else, even if it's worthless, because the sentimental value is worth a lot to me. He blew up calling me childish and that I should have sold his Xbox, the only thing keeping him entertained in these awful times. He started sulking ever since and kept reminding me that he was the one with the short end of the stick since I got my precious tea set back. The buyer earned $150, but he lost his Xbox forever. He's refusing to talk to me, calling me evil with zero consideration for how depressed and upset he is feeling. Am I the a-hole for how I returned my antique tea set? And now for the top comments. I was going to say, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but then I read he did this to fulfill a promise he made to buy someone a gaming chair. He wrote a check his bum couldn't cash. He should have sold his items to raise the money needed for the gaming chair. Selling your tea set was heartless. Saving up, which you state you can't do anyway, To buy you a modern one is pointless because the original set has sentimentality. I'm sure he is sulking, but he created this mess. It wouldn't be fair for you to be without an item of yours. Not the a-hole, but he's not going to stop pouting for a long time. Not the a-hole, but you should consider getting out of this situation, like, now. Not only does your husband not respect your property, but he also doesn't seem to have much financial sense. He could buy a cheap gaming chair for less than $100, he didn't need to spend $300 plus on one, no matter the reason. A sizable number of Americans couldn't put their hands on $400 in an emergency, and your husband sounds like he's in that group. That kind of money is a rainy day fund, especially when you're not making the kind of money to quickly recoup it. Your husband needs to get his financial priorities in order quickly, or you're always going to be fighting this battle with him. Not the a-hole. Your husband sold a family heirloom with great sentimental value and stubbornly refused to admit that he was in the wrong because he does not respect your property or your feelings. Worse, he had no intention of even trying to get it back even after you confronted him, instead of trying to gaslight you into thinking you were overreacting. If you just sold the console to get back at him, I'd say you were wrong, too, but you did it to get your property back, and I don't feel bad for him because it was his responsibility to get the tea set back and he refused. But you need to find somewhere else to store your valuables. Who knows what he'll sell off next? What's your say on this? Do you have a similar story?